Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. As you can tell, my voice is almost back. Not quite, but almost. So I wanted to come on here today. First, I wanted to come on and say Happy 4th of July to everyone. But I think most of us know there's been a huge tragedy in Illinois right now. It always strikes me odd that it always happens in these states that have really restrictive gun rights, but then they'll blame it on other states. You'd think it's almost like the people who live in those states get further aggravated by the gun restrictions if they have mental illness or other anger issues. The very fact they're being infringed upon makes them even angrier, and they act out. But what do I know? I'm just saying that might be a thing. But as everyone knows, 6 people have been killed by someone who went up on a rooftop and opened fire during a July 4th parade. This is pretty disgusting. The person who did it is disgusting. Now, do I want to acknowledge that, oh yes, there probably someone has issues and probably bad things have happened to them, etc. Well, bad things happen to everybody. Not everybody goes schizo on a rooftop with a rifle. Of course, the media has immediately started interviewing people saying it was an automatic weapon. Rifles don't fire that fast. And it was obviously an assault weapon. All the regular stuff. Instead of just dealing with the facts and dealing with, the seriousness of people being killed, they have to sensationalize. That's their business. They were almost giddy this morning. They were like, oh, the 308th mass shooting. And they were, you could tell they're holding back a smile when they're doing this stuff. It just shows you how pathetic a lot of the media is. Especially the editorial shows. They just love a tragedy because they're like ratings. I'm going to get some ratings today. But like I said, instead of just dealing with what went on, they're trying to push up AntiGun Agenda instead of saying what could have been done to actually stop this person. Once again, it looks like it's a 18 to 20-year-old male, one of the most dangerous groups. And I know right now they're trying to push that 18 to 21-year-olds, people under 21, can't purchase firearms, which, like I've said, I'm open to debating. I don't see that as a big violation of constitutional rights because you really don't come into your full independent rights till you're an adult, and I'm definitely willing to say that people aren't legally an adult till they're 21. The only problem is that means they won't be able to vote or serve in the military either, and the powers that be really don't care about lives enough to give up those two things. The Democrats aren't going to give up that voting base, and Republicans aren't going to give up that fodder to defend corporate rights across the oceans. So not going to happen. But that's what media should be talking about right now. If they really cared about lives, why aren't they talking about, you at 18, you are not mature. I'm sorry. Anyone out there who's 18 that thinks you are, well, the fact that you think you are just shows how immature you are. Because being 18, I've never met an 18-year-old that doesn't think they haven't experienced everything and knows everything. I mean, I was kind of like that when I was 18. It's part of it. Take it from someone who's been around longer than you, has been where you have been, you haven't been where I've been, you're not. You're not fully mentally or emotionally mature yet. If you're someone who's 30 that thinks you were mentally or emotionally mature at 18, you either have a bad memory or you're not mentally or emotionally mature now. So like I said, I'd be willing to have that argument. But instead of arguing things like that, the media is, of course, automatic weapon, assault rifle, blah, blah, blah. This is, gun culture. And I'm sure they'll be throwing white supremacists in there soon since he was apparently a white kid. Although, here's the thing, people want to say, well, 18 to 20-year-old white kids are so dangerous, we shouldn't be letting them have guns. You know what the most dangerous group with guns are? Blacks. Black people commit more gun crime than white people on average. So should we say black people shouldn't be owning guns? Well, that would be keeping with anti-gun tradition because most gun laws in this country were written to keep guns out of the hands of black people based on stereotypes and fear. So that would be historically accurate if we started doing that. But of course, no one would want to do that. They feel like it's okay to go after certain groups of people as long as it's, they're not going to seem like they're being racist. They'll ignore other facts, which shows you they don't really care about the problem, because you can't solve a problem unless you acknowledge the problem. Like, you can't, let's deal with what's causing these groups of people to do bad things if you won't acknowledge that these groups of people do bad things. And one of those groups is 18 to 20-year-old males, period, black or white. So we have to start acknowledging what makes them do these things. Instead of demonizing firearms or the tools they choose to use to act out, let's figure out why people in this age group in this country feel the need to act out so much. Is it because they're being fed fear and division by the media all the time and the politicians all the time? Is it because they're disenfranchised? They see no hopes of a good future, a good job, etc. They're languishing in these towns where there's nothing to do except for work at Burger King and, drink and do drugs, because there's no future. So many Americans are not facing a future that's worth anything. They can't even see a future that's worth anything. Their parents were losers. Their grandparents were losers, living in a shack in Mississippi, whatever, and they're going to be that way. Living in the hills of West Virginia, believe me, I know. I was raised in the poor hills of West Virginia. I know about generational poverty and generations being disenfranchised, etc. I've seen it. I've lived through it. But like I said, the media doesn't want to deal with these things. They don't want to say, what can we do to solve the problems in this country? They want to say, what can we do to take guns away from people in this country? Because then everything would be perfect if no one had guns. If no one had guns, no one would victimize people weaker than they are. It just makes no sense when you say it out loud. That if no citizens had guns, we wouldn't have gun crime in the country. But other crimes would skyrocket. That's like saying, if we banned guns today, we'd save 12,000 lives this year. If no one had a gun, there'd be 12,000 people who didn't die from a homicide this year by a gun. They don't say there's 12,000 less people die. They're just saying it'd be less people from a gun. Because once there were no guns in society, how many people would get beaten to death, hit with a club, just physically overcome? People that hey, they're small and weak, and I'm big and strong. I've got nothing, they've got something. I'm going to take their stuff and harm them. What's to stop anyone from doing that if you know that person has no means to defend themselves? That's going to skyrocket crime. A lot of the criminals stay out of certain areas because they know, hey, people in those areas are armed. Let's stay out of there. But this has turned into a long ramble here, which was really meant to be a happy 4th of July, people. And it didn't become that because of what's going on. But I just wanted to get on here, and like I say, I'm rambling about how the media should, instead of dealing with tools and acts, they should deal with causes. What are the causes of these problems in this country? And it's not unique to this country. Look at what just happened overseas in one of the white-haired, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white countries. I can't remember which one it is. Similar thing just happened. So it's not unique to our country, but our country is unique as in there's so many of us and we're so culturally diverse that any problems there are elevated or exasperated by the fact that there are so many people in so many high-density population areas and of such racially different backgrounds and beliefs, and now such political divisions. So America is, like I said, kind of unique in that situation, but that doesn't mean we can't start doing something to alleviate the problems in this country. Maybe break down the political barriers that have been put in place for generations to keep people 50-50 split so that politicians can just rake in money and not really do anything. But media doesn't want to talk about that because same people that are paying politicians are paying the media and own the media. So it's all about division. We need to start dealing with that. Also, another thing I think we need to pay attention to here, and this is just a side note, and I don't want to criticize anyone that was there today at the parade, but I saw so many people talking about people just scattered and we're running all over the place. If you go out in a public place and there's a lot of people, always have a game plan. That doesn't mean be paranoid and be afraid of being there, but just know that, hey, in the 1 in a million chance that something goes wrong, here's where I'm going. And also know that your family knows that also. If you hear shots ring out, people start to panic, jump into the first business you see. Go behind the counter, go into the back room. Find safety. If you know that, your family knows that, you don't end up finding yourself running around like a chicken with their head cut off in the middle of the road while someone's shooting at you. And one of the reasons a lot of people do that is because they're like, oh, I would jump in this building, but I don't know where my kids are. I got to find my kids. If you know that your kids know what to do, you'll feel confident that they're doing the same thing you're doing, and you'll get out of harm's way. So always have a plan. That's just kind of my side note here. I should probably do a bigger video on that, but wanted to add that here at the end. Like I said, there's a tragedy today. I wish it hadn't happened, and I wish the media would start dealing with why these things happen, and I wish politicians would start dealing with why these things happen, and start dealing with the issues. And maybe they'll have to now that it looks like they're going to have a hard time taking away anyone's gun rights. So maybe they'll start dealing with real issues now. Let's all hope so. And with that being said, I'm out of here. Like I say, I've rambled long enough. I hope you all have a good 4th of July. My best wishes go to the people that are having a bad 4th of July today, a tragic 4th of July. Nothing much we can do after the fact, sadly. Wishes and prayers are about as good as putting a Band-Aid on a bad heart. You know what I mean? So best thing we could do, like I say, is start dealing with the issues at hand and try to prevent things like these from happening instead of just trying to change the means by which they happen by taking away tools. So I want to thank everyone for coming today. Like I said, I've rambled long enough. I hope to see you again tomorrow, and I hope we don't have as bad a news tomorrow as we did today. But I appreciate you coming, and I want to remind everyone out there to always carry and stay safe until I see you again.